In this video, I am going to be breaking down what banks don't tell you, why you keep getting denied, and how you can reverse engineer that so that you can increase your approval odds. It's not just the lack of poor personal credit, it's not just the lack of business age, and it's not just the lack of business revenue, which is what most people think. So let's get right into the first point. The NAICS code, also known as the NAICS code, along with how you name your business, can make or break the amount of funding that you get. Let me explain. Sometimes if a business is in the construction space, but they're using maybe a name that's going to get them flagged, like investments or like even construction or trust is also a big one, that can get a business declined altogether. And that's just on the naming side. But the naming piece has a lot to do with the classification that you choose, because let's say if you are in the construction space, but you tell a banker or you go to a bank and you apply as if you're constantly building out spec homes, then that speculative style of investing or speculative style of business can raise a red flag to them. And so they put what's known as like red tape around your business because of the industry that you decided to classify your business within. So think of it kind of like a bucket. So the reason why I'm saying red tape is because this is exactly how banks are referring to it. This means that you are in what's called a restricted industry, which banks in most cases don't like to lend money to, because think of it like this. If a business is in a high restricted industry that they feel is going to be defaulting, then their odds of getting their investment back, which in this case was lending you money, starts to decrease. So think of NAICS codes in the eyes of a bank as risk mitigation, which is why you want to choose this carefully. The second thing that you want to pay attention to is the geographic footprint of your business and the geographic footprint of the bank or lending institution that you're going after. So a geographic footprint is where a bank is stationed and who they decide to lend to. Now I'm going to break down the difference between grade A banks, which are the bigger banks across the country. These are the national brands, and the lower banks, kind of like the regional banks or the local banks. And so if we're focusing on the bigger banks, the geographic footprint simply means that they're typically going to lend out to businesses that are located within that state. So let's say that your business is located in Georgia and you wanted to go to one of the bigger banks, say a Bank of America, say a Chase. As long as your bank is within the state that they lend in, then they're going to be able to lend to you, as long as, again, your business is registered in that state. But now let's take a look at a local bank or a regional bank. And so these are banks that are maybe only located in a city, or certain banks that are only located maybe in the northeast region of the country or just in the West Coast. So maybe Arizona, Texas, California, and Nevada as an example. If your business, and when I say business, I'm referring to where your business actually conducts business in, which means it has to be within that demographic, then with local banks and with regional banks, sometimes they put a guard around how far your business can be located before they can't lend to you. So in most cases with local banks, they usually have a 40 to a 50 mile radius that your business has to be within. So once it's out of that radius, they can no longer allow you to open up things like a business bank account, a checking, a merchant account, and the list goes on. Now here's a pro tip that one of our clients did to kind of bypass this. They saw that where they live was more in a rural area. So there weren't too many banks around them. So they noticed that right around 25 miles east of where they lived was the city. But within that city, they had access to about 35 different banks and different lending institutions. So what they did was, when they were looking for their new brick and mortar location, they said, you know what, most of our traffic is online. What would it look like, since no one's really walking into our store? What would it look like if we just opened up shop inside of the city? So that way, when we take our documentation into the banks and we start connecting with bankers, we have access to more options. That's exactly what they did. But I'm gonna give you a different take on that, because you're probably thinking, well, Irv, what if I'm not a brick and mortar location? What if I'm an e-commerce store and everything I do is online? Or what if I work from my house and I'm outside of that range? I'm so glad you asked. One of the things that you can do is you can set up a either foreign entity if maybe you're outside of the state that you're looking to access funding to. Obviously consult with your CPA on how to set that up. We have a full video on that. So I won't go too deep into this video, but you can set up a foreign entity specifically in that state, which will now allow you to get access to some of those funding products. Or the other option, if you're already within the States, is you can take a look at a virtual address. So a quick Google search is going to allow you to see, okay, based off of where I'm located, this is a densely populated area with a lot of banks and lending institutions. So what you can do is you can plop on the map your virtual address. Now make sure that's a virtual office address that's actually registered with USPS. Do the whole business address audit. Don't get one of those cheap UPS looking store ones. Don't get one of those cheap storage unit looking ones. You want to get one that actually looks like a physical location. So that way, when they go to search your business up, it reads as if it's right within the region that they can lend in. The third piece you want to pay attention to is lending appetite, because every bank is going to have different requirements along with different industries that they gravitate toward, that they actually want to work with and get business funding to. This means that they look for certain businesses and business owner profiles to lend to. Now, some prefer to lend to real estate, others prefer to lend to brick and mortars, and others prefer to lend toward companies like transportations and manufactured, and the list goes on. So this is good news if you were maybe denied at a particular bank, because this simply means that maybe they didn't want to lend to your line of work. This means that there's options out there that you can take a look at. So I want to give you 3 questions that you should ask a banker or that you should ask a loan officer when you're connecting with them, which is what I train my clients to do. And I want to give you those 3 questions in this quick script. First thing that you want to ask is, what does the majority of your lending portfolio make up? The second question you want to ask is, what do you specifically need to see in my marketing plan and in financials if needed? And the third question you want to ask is, what funding options do you currently offer specific to my business? Now, when you position yourself this way, this is going to let them know, okay, this business owner means business, and they also know exactly what to look for. So this is going to help you by, again, the process of elimination, so that you don't have to spend time opening accounts, having your credit ran, possibly depositing funds in banks that, again, there's no point of you even doing that because you're not necessarily going to get anything in return. So that script right there is going to save you a heck of a lot of time so that you can get to the funding options specific to your business much faster. So there you have it. Those are 3 key things that you want to pay attention to and why most people get denied and they don't even know it. If you found value in this content, consider hitting the subscribe button down below. Don't forget that anytime we're not posting on here, we're posting over on Inside with Irv, which is our podcast style channel. So if you like what we have going on over here, you'll love what we have going on over there. But once again, I appreciate you guys checking me out. Until next time, everyone, I will see you in the next video.